Good morning and welcome to this launch webinar, which will introduce a new alliance for the engineering services sector. My name is Len Bingley and I'm the editor of Construction News. My job this morning is to guide you through the proceedings and to introduce some of our speakers. Now, at CN, we write a lot about the challenges faced by our industry, so I'm delighted to facilitate the launch of this new alliance today. I know the alliance is determined to drive progress in several really important areas. First, let me just run through this morning's proceedings. We start first with a series of very brief presentations. Now, fear not, we're not going to show you hundreds of slides, but these will give you some key information about the Alliance and its initial goals. We will then hear some messages of support from key figures around the industry. This section of the launch will then be followed by a Q&A session with the CEOs of the different bodies that make up the Alliance. We will be taking a few questions from the audience at that point, using the webinar chat function, so do please make sure you have that chat box on your screen. And don't wait for the Q&A to start to pose your questions. You can put them in whenever you wish. If you do want to pose a question, do please be aware that this whole event is being recorded and that the recording will be made generally available after the launch. So now it's time to hear a little bit more about the Alliance, including one extremely important piece of information, what the Alliance is actually going to be called. To reveal that secret, I will hand over now to David Fries of BESA, the Building Engineering and Services Association. David, over to you.
Thank you very much, Lem, and good morning, everybody. For those of you who follow the BESA webinar, you'll know it must be an important day, and it must be important because I'm wearing a tie. I have to admit it feels very good, and I'm rather hoping someone will take me out to lunch afterwards, but it's a slight feeling of normality. Because we're living in uncertain times, unprecedented times. Your grandchildren will ask you about what you did during the great world pandemic of 2020. We've seen rapid change in the last 12 months. I've seen a massive uptake of digital technologies, seen competitors work together to develop a vaccine for the common good. And in construction, the Construction Leadership Council come together in an unprecedented way to improve the industry. We are here today to launch a new engineering alliance, Actuate UK. So why Actuate UK? As an alliance, we supply the essential elements that bring buildings to life. We actuate the built environment, literally the air that you breathe and the water you drink. We light you and power your equipment for work and entertainment. We keep you comfortable. And if we succeed as designers, you're not even aware of what we've done because you're not hot, you're not cold, the lighting is perfect. You can't see it or hear it because it all works. It is often only when things don't work that you recognize the true value of engineering services. Engineering services are vital to the economy of the UK. And as we like to say, if you want essential services, you need engineering services. And who knew at the beginning of the pandemic that ventilation in buildings could be so important for the future way of life in preventing the spread of the virus? A simple statistic highlights the value of engineering services within buildings. 90% of people spend 90% of their time in a building. When engineering services work properly, this has huge impact on people's well-being, their physical and mental health. And as buildings and infrastructure that serves them generate at least half of the carbon emissions, engineering services also provides a significant part of the solution to the climate crisis, the net zero targets. So the name Actuate UK underlines an action-orientated approach. Not just talking about change, we want to enable sustained and positive change. Next slide, please. Actuate UK brings together all the elements of the supply chain: designers, manufacturers, installers, commissioning, and maintenance companies. The organizations BESA, BSRIA, CIBSE, ECA, FETA, LEIA, SELECT, and SNIPEF represent that. Because clients don't buy products shrink-wrapped on a pallet. They expect to buy them correctly designed, installed, and operated within a system and integrated into other systems. They facilitate the development of smart buildings and utilities, the essential building blocks of a smart city and smart infrastructure. Our alliance reflects that supply chain integration and that ambition. Together, the new alliance will deliver a single consolidated voice for the UK engineering services sector. And I'll now hand over to Julia Evans, Chief Executive of BSRIA, for more information on the contribution of the sector we represent.
Thanks, David. Good morning, everyone. I'm Julia Evans, and I'm the Chief Executive of BSRIA. That's the Building Services Research and Information Association, and it's one of the professional bodies forming this new organisation, Actuate UK. And I'm going to tell you something about the size of the sector that we're looking after. So together, the members of Actuate UK bring expertise from right across the industry, as you've heard David say. And it's a multi-billion-pound sector made up of about 60,000 different companies and having about 350,000 skilled professionals working within it. So it's really big. But it's a truly enormous part of not only the construction and engineering sector, but also of the UK economy. Together, we contribute over 100 billion into UK GDP annually, and most importantly, facilitate a further 600 billion into the wider economy. And that's hugely important just now, particularly as we're coming out of this, hopefully coming out of this global pandemic and are looking towards a more of an economic recovery. So those figures are 40% of UK construction by value and influence over 80% of operational costs of our built environment. What we do affects absolutely everybody. So together, Actuate UK understands the interlinked nature of the whole construction and engineering sector, and it recognises the truly powerful contribution that these make to the wider industry and the wider economy. And I'll pass you over to Fiona next. Fiona.
Thank you, Julia, and good morning, everyone. My name's Fiona Hodgson, and I'm Chief Executive of SNIPEF, and that's the Scottish and Northern Ireland Plumbing Employers Federation. As a member of Actuate UK, SNIPEF will represent the interests of plumbing and heating businesses throughout Scotland and Northern Ireland. As Julia has just said, Actuate UK represents a vital sector which contributes significantly to the UK economy, but it's also a very diverse sector with its members working across a wide range of projects, from commercial and public infrastructure work, large and middle-sized projects, right through to working in your home. Our industry is critical, not only in delivering homes, offices, schools and retail, but also in maintaining them and bringing the built environment to life. We are driven to ensure that the UK's built assets are safe, that they're secure, sustainable, and more importantly, future-proof. At the very heart of this is consumer well-being and the environmental footprint that we leave behind. Having a healthy engineering services sector should lead to a safe, productive, and sustainable built asset. I'll now hand over to Steve Bratt, Chief Executive of ECA, and he'll tell you a little bit more about Actuate.
Steve, we can't hear you, so could you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I'm unmuted. There you go. Is that better?
Yes, Steve, we can hear you now.
Yeah. Okay, it's a problem with the cable, I'm afraid, on my computer. Okay, I'll start again. Thank you. So, as Fiona said, I'm Steve Brett. I'm the Chief Executive of ECA. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what Actuate will do. So, the slide there is pretty self-explanatory, I guess, but the key point is fundamentally we're looking to bring our sector together to speak with one voice on matters of strategic importance. And the way we'll do that is we'll bring people from our sector right across the UK together to develop policy positions, to develop ideas, and then to go out and engage with governments and industry initiatives to make sure that our sector is properly represented. And we make the contribution to our societal aims, our economic aims, our industry aims that we know we have the potential to make. Next slide, please. Now, if I can tell you a little bit more, we're going to focus in these 4 areas. So the post-COVID world of business. So I guess we all know that our business world is going to look quite different post-COVID. And the Alliance will focus in the areas we've traditionally had interest, the commercial ones, payment, procurement, contracts, all of those things, but we'll have a much broader agenda. So we're going to focus in areas like air quality, well-being, smart cities, areas where our sector is really important and can make a really valuable contribution. On the second point there, safety, quality and competence, for our sector, these are really, really important. As you heard from Julia, we employ a lot of people. People are very much our key asset, and it's very important that they have the skills to do a job in a safe way to the right quality. And as this is a wider industry debate at the moment, we believe we have a lot to offer in this area, so we're very keen to get engaged and support. On the third point, the climate crisis, you heard David say that we bring buildings to life, and we do that by installing engineering services, not only in the construction phase where we represent a big chunk of that, but we're important right through the life cycle of a building. So if we are to achieve our net zero targets, then we need to be really at the heart of that, and we are ready to step up and play our part. And on the fourth point, skills for tomorrow. Well, I've said we need the skills to do our job now, but of course we need to be looking forward too. We're looking to improve productivity, we're looking to improve quality, we're looking to be greener. So we need green skills, we need digital skills. So there's a big piece of work for us to do there to identify what skills do we need to be fit for that future. So as you can see, there's a lot to do. We have a lot to contribute, and we all look forward to working with you to achieve it. Thank you. Back to Lem.
Thanks very much, Steve. And thanks to all the other industry leaders who have given Actuate UK their backing. Now that we know what the Alliance is actually called, can I urge you to make some noise today about the launch of Actuate UK via your favourite social media channels? And if you do, please remember to tag your posts hashtag ActuateUK. That's indicated at the bottom of the slide there, I think. And there's also a presence on social media, Actuate UK with the underscore there, as you can see on the slide. Now it's time to hear from some of the key people in this industry who have welcomed the launch of Actuate UK. Now, not all of them could be here this morning, so we'll start with some short videos. First of all, we will hear from Andy Mitchell, CBE, Chief Executive of Tideway and Co-Chair of the Construction Leadership Council.
Hello, I'm really pleased to welcome Actuate UK, the new engineering services sector alliance that is being launched today to bring collaboration and a coherent voice to an important part of the industry. Over the past year, through the efforts of many groups in the industry, the Construction Leadership Council has achieved a lot, dealing with the pandemic and all of the challenges that has brought us. And whilst it's not over yet, we can and we are turning our attention to the future, one that is better, stronger, and truly ambitious for what society needs of us. Now, building safety and net zero are the two big issues that we have to get on top of, and it's really clear that the engineering services sector has a huge role to play in both of these. So I'm very pleased to see Actuate UK seizing these issues, and I look forward to the vital role that you can and must play in moving this industry forward, and I look forward to working with Actuate UK to do just that.
The Construction Clients Leadership Group welcome the creation of Actuate UK to bring the 8 key engineering service providers into a collaborative alliance. If there ever was a critical time for the industry to pull together, it is now. We have the opportunity to reset the clock within our industry, and as history has shown, A crisis can and does motivate all of us to give our best. Clients rely heavily on the engineering services sector. We therefore look forward to working with the Alliance members to transform the industry, resulting in better outcomes for all. Clients want to work with professionals that are prepared to rise to the challenge, and from what we can see, that's exactly what the Alliance aims to do. Well done all in taking this initiative, which we sincerely hope other sectors will follow as we emerge into a brighter tomorrow. Good luck with your endeavours, and thank you.
Hello. Great opportunity I have now to congratulate the engineering services sector on making such a bold step forward in creating this alliance, Actuate UK. I think it's really important that at the moment when construction as a sector is transforming itself, that you're able to speak with one single consolidated voice. It's also really pleasing to see that amongst your priorities you list tackling the climate crisis and delivering net zero. And in achieving that, I note also that you put green skills very high up your agenda. Personally, I think that delivering net zero will rely more heavily on creating the right green skills than it will on creating the right technology. I think that will be potentially more of a barrier if we don't get it right. We certainly need to attract, retain more people to our sector and to reskill a lot of people in our sector as well. I note as well that you're looking to support a number of national initiatives such as the CLC recovery plan. So we're clearly very aligned at the GCB and the CLC with Actuate UK. So I wish you every success in delivering your new vision. Thank you.
Hi, I'd like to welcome the formation of Actuate UK. I think it's a great idea, helping to bring a common, coherent voice for its members across engineering services sector and also collaborating with everybody else in the industry. We need to develop and maintain a sustainable long-term industry, improve it where it is today, and help deliver healthier, safer, more productive buildings and infrastructure. And engineering services sector with Actuate UK fit in and play a vital role in helping us be able to achieve that. And I'm looking forward to working with them on the key strategic focus areas around recovery from a post-Brexit era, also working with them on safety, quality and competence following the Grenfell tragedy, and working on skills for tomorrow as well, helping them develop areas that need training and education around built environment. And also on climate crisis, we've got a huge focus as an industry on carbon net zero, and Actuate UK will again play a huge part in helping us try and maintain and deliver against those objectives. So thank you and welcome Actuate UK.
Hi everyone, I'm Mark Farmer. I'd like to support and endorse today's launch of the new Engineering Services Alliance. I think it's a great initiative at just the right time for our industry. The last 10-11 months since the onset of the COVID pandemic have perhaps seen our industry come together in a way that we've always struggled to achieve in the past. And it's that adversity that perhaps has bound us together, and we need to take lessons from that. The one thing that's come out of all of this is the idea of collaboration and integrated thinking, and talking with one voice is what's going to get us forward. And I think what we see here with the Engineering Services Alliance is a great opportunity for you as a composite engineering services sector to come together and to represent all of those individual voices, whether it's professional institutions, whether it's trade bodies, whether it's specialist bodies, who actually represent the sector at large, and to come together and convene a discussion, whether it be with government, whether it be with policymakers, whether it be with clients, to actually drive industry change. And let's be honest, we still are not where we need to be in terms of forcing through some of those changes that we know our industry still needs to implement. And we're only going to do it through joined up thinking and one collaborative voice. So I welcome today's announcement. I look forward to collaborating myself with the Engineering Services Alliance and helping you on your journey going forward. Thank you.
It's great to hear such widespread support for the launch of Actuate UK. Now, as you can see from the slide, it's my pleasure to introduce our next live guest, Anne Bentley, the Global Board Director at Ryder Levitt Bucknell. Anne's going to share a few thoughts of her own on why Actuate UK is needed today. Over to you, Anne.
Thanks, Lem, and it's great to be asked to speak to you today. Even before the coronavirus, the construction industry was in a period of immense pressure and indeed immense change, which, if anything, has now accelerated. Excuse me. As we all know, the industry has many diverse parts to it, and with almost 500,000 companies working in it, it's often quite rightly criticised for being fragmented. And yet the challenge for the industry is quite clear. We have to construct, repair and maintain buildings and infrastructure in a way that works for the end users, but is also good value for those paying for them. And that means the construction and operation of buildings, which of course is really important to engineering services. But on top of that, obviously we need to meet our carbon net zero aspirations and recognise the industry's wide obligations to and influence on the communities and individuals that we serve. And engineering services are, as many of the speakers have already said, a critical but often unseen and unsung part of our industry, which have an enormous impact on meeting those challenges and indeed on, the occupiers and users of buildings. So it's absolutely great to see such a widely representative group of engineering services organisations and their member companies coming together with such focus on changing things for the better. And I really look forward to working with the Alliance in this journey of change. Back to you, Lem.
Thanks very much, Anne. Now, for the next section of today's launch, we're going to hear from two members of the Actuate UK leadership team to describe a couple of the most important challenges that the Alliance is going to tackle. First of all, we'll hear from Howell Davis from CIBSE, and he's going to talk about the impact of the Grenfell tragedy on our industry. And then he will hand over to Julia Evans from BSRIA to talk about the climate crisis. So Howell, over to you.
Thank you, Lem. Following the Grenfell Tower tragedy and the subsequent review of building regulations and fire safety, government has committed to the most far-reaching and fundamental reform of building legislation in at least a working lifetime. And many of its provisions will apply not just to the construction phase, but to the whole operational life of the asset that's being constructed. Whilst the Building Safety Bill applies to buildings in England, the concerns that it addresses and the consequences of its reforms are going to be felt throughout the engineering services sector and across the United Kingdom. In Activate UK, we're committed to this agenda for radical change. We recognise the vital role of engineering services in delivering buildings that are safe and healthy throughout their working life. But building safety is not the only major challenge that we face. Climate change has been noted already as a huge global issue, and Julia's now going to talk about what Activate UK is doing to help deliver the net zero carbon agenda.
Thank you. So this is the second of the key things we're talking about today, and thanks to Hal for the previous piece. This is about something which affects absolutely everybody. The climate change crisis has been, it's nothing new. It's been around forever, more or less. But it came to the public's attention, particularly during 2019 and following, with the work of Greta Thunberg, who in fact gets more hits on the internet than Rihanna. So what does this tell us? It tells us that the public at large are alert and paying attention to the climate change crisis. However, this collaboration, the Actuate UK collaboration, has been dealing with these kinds of things for decades. They've been investing and promoting and encouraging and engaging with the wider community and construction and engineering to deal with these things which are being very difficult to handle. Why is it so important just at the moment? Well, it's going to go on being important. It's going to go on being a key theme that not only Actuate UK, but construction, engineering and the broader economy must deal with. It must deal with these things. We can't do everything. Actuate UK must work in partnership, both with the CLC and with the other umbrella groups within this sector and more broadly. Actuate UK does bring particular skills and competencies to bear, however. These are the people that deal with the buildings that we all inhabit every day, be it domestic, commercial, recreational. They all contribute to both worsening the climate change situation and give the promise of making it better. So we hope to make things clearer. What do some of these things mean? What does climate change actually mean? What does carbon reduction actually mean? How are these things actually being explained, not only to professionals, but to the broader community who are going to make a huge impact in this area? Actuate UK will bring its practical expertise to bear, and particularly focusing on the built environment and the drive towards net zero in buildings. And that's a net zero from cradle, from design to grave to demolition. It engages the whole process around the built environment and focuses absolutely on delivering that net zero outcome. So we hope by delivering expertise and knowledge and collaboration, moreover, in this sector, that we can make a real difference and deliver our part of the climate change recovery. Back to you, Lem.
Thank you very much, Julia. Now, next, we have a session that will underscore the breadth of organisations behind Actuate UK. As you can see on the screen, there's quite a few names there, joining Howell and Julia, who we've already heard from, and David, Fiona and Steve, who have already spoken. We'll now be joined also by Russell Beattie from FETA, Nick Mellor from LEIA, and Alan Wilson from Select. So hopefully, if we can just pause while everyone switches on their cameras, and we'll embark on the Q&A. I think that's a full house. Right. Well, welcome everyone. As I said, this is the Q&A section that I mentioned at the start. We're going to start with a few questions that have already been sent in. There was the opportunity to post questions when people registered. And then we'll take questions from the live audience, and I can already see a handful of questions there that I'll try to include. If you have a question that you would like to put to the panel, do please use the chat function to put that across now. And if you don't actually have a question, but you'd just like to make some observation for the world at large, do please remember you can always use social media. We'll be keeping an eye on that this morning. Just use the hashtag ActuateUK. Now, to kick us off, David, a simple question for you to start. Is Actuate UK established as a legal entity in its own right? Will the various member bodies continue to function in their separate fashions?
Yes, it is a separate legal entity with each association having an equal share. We will, of course, carry on our current activities, but come together where there is a shared interest in a particular area or issue, and you've heard about the 4 areas we're focusing on, with the intent of amplifying that, but giving it a single voice.
Perhaps you can touch on a question that came in from the audience just now. How do you anticipate other bodies having to react to acknowledge the fact that Actuate UK is now there, a new strong voice on the scene?
We welcome people, anybody who would like to join us who's in the engineering services sector. We'd like to talk to them, but other bodies, we want to work with them. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. If there's something out there, we want to use that and work in conjunction with it, but then bring something new to the table, which is reflecting the, how the supply chain works in engineering services.
Thank you, David. Steve, I wonder if you can expand on something David touched on there. Do you have plans to bring other organisations into the fold? Is that a process that's ongoing, or with the 8 organisations that you have today, is that enough for the moment?
We're very much open to other organisations being part of Actuate UK. As we said in the presentation, this is about bringing our sector together to develop joined-up policy and speak with one voice. If there are other organisations that fit into that category, i.e. they're legitimately from our sector and they wish to be involved, very happy to hear from them. It's fair to say we have had a number of approaches already, and we are in discussions with some bodies about joining.
Thanks, Steve. Russell, a question for you, perhaps. Actuate UK represents engineering services. Obviously, many of the challenges that we've heard about today are absolutely industry-wide. How do you plan to collaborate and coordinate with some of those bodies in other sectors, in other parts of the construction industry?
Yeah, you're right, Lem. It is a broad sector and it is very wide. I think a thing I would stress there, following on from Steve, we're not competing with anybody here. All of our organisations already liaise very closely with a whole number of bodies, professional institutes, trade associations, government departments. So we certainly would continue to do that and more, but with a more coordinated, collaborative view from our sector, just to pull it all together. We deal with, for instance, we deal with a variety of government departments. It isn't just, of course, it's across the nations. We deal with the building regulations, the safety, the business, the energy, the environment, something very close to FETA to do with refrigeration gases, that sort of thing. So we're dealing with all manner of places. So I think we recognise that. We recognise that challenge. We're not claiming that we can do this alone. Far from it. This has to be collaborative. It's a complicated area, and we can't lead on it alone.
Thanks, Russell. Julia, you talked in your section about one of the, perhaps the most all-encompassing challenge that we face as a world. What's your view on how Actuate UK as a new presence can perhaps galvanise action from the wider industry?
I think I'd build on what Russell's just said, that we've got, if you like, a core of 8 organisations who are very focused on the built environment, that this is what we specialise in, this is what we do. Other people do that too, but there's also a broader pool, of course. We're strenuously looking to collaborate, and collaborate we must. We've got at least two government departments to interface with. The breadth of the agenda is absolutely huge. And if we stand any chance of delivering on the UK government objectives and achieving our the Paris Agreement, then we must act collaboratively. I think the strength for Actuate UK is that we have some very specific issues. We are focused, we're not focused on absolutely everything, we're focused on the built environment, and it's the tangible the stuff that you can reach out and touch, the air you breathe inside, the way we heat and ventilate our buildings, things that if they're working okay, you don't even think about, but if they're not working okay, then there's every chance that it's not only personally uncomfortable, so there's a personal well-being agenda, but they're also influencing discharge of carbon dioxide and other gases, and wasting heat, and being inefficient and expensive and costly, and so on and so forth. So it's a huge equation there, and all the little bits need to drop into place. So the more we work in collaboration, the better. I think we stand a chance of actually delivering on some of these things.
Thank you, Julia. Nick, you represent a very well-defined section of the industry. I guess joining Actuate will give more weight to your ability to influence your members, their ability to influence the industry. What's your view on the value of collaboration here today?
Well, thank you, Lem. It's interesting that the word collaboration is coming through almost everybody's input so far. everyone's responses. I mean, you're right. We're quite a narrowly focused industry, and whenever we have challenges, we naturally look to, if you like, look for a broader organisation such as Actuate UK to help us carry those things forward. I think that we'll maybe come on to it later, but there are very specific areas that we recognise that we can't carry forward our narrow industry sector agenda without working much more widely, not only within the engineering services sector, but much more widely with government and other trade bodies.
Thanks, Nick. Steve, perhaps if I can come back to you again, many people watching today will be familiar with the work done by the SEC group on payment practices in the industry, and some may well be disappointed that issues like retentions, for example, don't seem to be front and centre for Actuate UK. What would you say to those people? How can you reassure them?
Yeah, it's a good point, Lem. Thank you. For those that maybe don't understand what the Specialist Engineering Contractors Group was, firstly, I'll just explain that, then I'll talk maybe about how Actuate builds on that. So SEC Group, as we'd call them, were representative of contractors, and we're focused on commercial issues, and we're very successful, focusing on things like payment, changes to the Construction Act, all of those commercial issues. Actuate UK builds on those. So we've still got contractors, the contractors that were in SEC Group, in fact, from the engineering services sector, but we've expanded the agenda to incorporate all of these other things that we've heard about today. But that includes those commercial issues too. So the post-COVID world of business, the item I mentioned earlier on, includes payment, it includes contractual issues, it includes procurement, it includes retentions, and in fact we are very actively engaged, in fact leading the CLC's work groups in these areas right now. So people can rest assured that we are still very much focused on doing these, not only through the CLC, but right across the UK, engage with all of the various bodies, and very much wish to continue to pursue that agenda. So as I say, people can rest assured that that is something we are going to be focusing on.
And Steve, that was one of the questions that was posed by a member of the audience, was there going to be a focus on procurement and contractual risks and things like that, as well as the 4 priorities that were mentioned. So I guess you're saying that will remain a key facet of Actuate UK's work.
That's right, and in fact right now we're actively engaged in that work. So on the procurement reform green paper, on the retentions work, and as I say, not just through the CLC, which obviously is important, but in Northern Ireland, in Wales, in Scotland, we are actively engaged with this agenda right through the UK, and we'll continue to do so.
Thanks, Steve. Alan, if I could turn to you, you represent a Scottish organisation. What are you hoping that Actuate UK might be able to achieve when it comes to some of the challenges that are specific to people working in your region?
Yeah, thank you, Lem. I think it is important to stress that the organisation is Actuate UK, and that means that our reach is right across the whole of the United Kingdom, so Scotland, England, Wales, Northern Ireland. And I think one of the points that came out in a number of the presentations in welcoming the new organisation are areas in which we, particularly in Scotland, through another organisation which both Select, SNIPEF and many of the other bodies around the table here today, along with Actuate, are involved in the CICV forum, we've adopted the mantle of 3 Cs: collaboration, cooperation and commitment. And I think these are really important tenets for us all to work together on as we seek to get a new system and delivery for the industry moving forward. There's lots of lessons to be learned from each of us, both individually, across all of the nations, and collectively. I think we're always better speaking together, discussing issues and taking that forward for the betterment of the whole industry and the sector at large. So I'm very excited and hopeful that Actuate UK will bring a better and more cohesive voice to the sector, across the whole of the nation, but especially obviously for contracting businesses and others in Scotland especially.
Thanks, Alan. Fiona, I don't know if you've got anything you'd like to add from again, from a regional perspective. What are you hoping that Actuate UK might be able to achieve?
Thank you, Lem. Very much the same as what everyone has said in terms of collaboration. You know, we can all work alone, but I think if anything that's come through from the pandemic has shown us is that there is a real need for us to work together. The issues we have, someone said to me recently, we're all in the same boat, and I think we very much are. And we have come together during the pandemic. We've come together in the past, and there's so many important issues ahead of us in terms of climate change and recovery as a sector in general, for the good of the industry, but also the economy. And therefore it's vital that we all work together as bodies, but also across the nations. It's key. So I think we'll get a lot out of this. We all have different levels of expertise, and it's something that we can share together for the benefit of our members and the industry as a whole.
There's a question, thank you Fiona, by the way. There's a question has come in from our audience today about whether Actuate UK will perhaps work with educational establishments on the skills side of things. Would anybody from our panel like to comment on that? David.
Yes, we'll talk to anybody, I think, in the first instance about how we can help and assist. Certainly on the skills side, it's really important. You heard David Pender earlier talking about skills are more important than actual technology for dealing with net zero and the climate crisis. So, and that's probably the biggest challenge facing the next generation. And it's the biggest thing that resonates with school leavers is what can they do to do something about that? And I think it's our job to make it easier for them to understand actually they can make a big practical difference if they join our sector. So we're very keen to talk to educationists. I think one of the things that's come out of the pandemic is it will revolutionize the way we train and the way we develop skills, because we've found blended learning is here and will be here to stay, I think. So there are huge opportunities, and we'd love to talk to people about how we're going to do that.
Thank you, David. And Julia, I think I invited David to speak just as you were about to open your mouth. So please go ahead.
I was just going to observe, that education and industry, they're partners. And so there's an education white paper out at the moment, promising huge amounts of investment, particularly in the technical and FE sector. And that's the lifeblood for lots and lots of the things that we do. So essential that it's no good having a wonderful initiative, this fantastic invention that's going to resolve all your problems in your building, if on the other hand you haven't got somebody who knows how to not only identify what's required, but install it properly, commission it properly, and then maintain it effectively, which are all the things that we need. So David's absolutely right. Education is right at the heart of what we do here, not just people generally getting a sense about what's going on, but specific qualifications that give technical expertise into the sector. Absolutely critical. Yeah, absolutely with that. Thank you.
Lem, if I might quickly pitch in there, I think a number of us do quite a lot of work on what might be called the STEM agenda, getting people interested as youngsters. And that's also a way we can promote diversity in the industry, because that's a key element too, which we're really quite keen on.
Thank you, Russell, and thank you to all our panelists. We now sadly have drawn to the end of the allotted time for our Q&A. I would like to reassure those people who have put forward questions that Actuate UK team are committed to getting an answer for you. So that will come through in due course, I hope. Okay, so our next session, I think all of our panelists are going to mute themselves and disappear from your screen with the exception of Russell. Russell's going to say a few words, I believe, about the next steps and what lies ahead for Actuate UK. So over to you, Russell.
Thank you, Leb. Hello, everybody. Again, you've heard from me already. I'm Russell Beattie, the CEO of FETA. We've covered a lot of ground this morning. We sure have, wrestling with some serious issues. These are serious in all manner of ways, scale, complexity, importance, and that's to say nothing of urgency. No wonder we hear them used alongside phrases like once in a generation, or crisis, or critical opportunity not to be missed. And the need for wholesale culture change in the industry. You know, boy, does that ring with the reality that we've been facing and we're dealing with. We would stress that the items on this slide here, that they're merely examples of timely opportunities for collaborative, so I've used that word again, collaborative input. They don't represent in any way a prioritization, nor is it an exhaustive list. Relying on optimistic osmosis is not a valid leadership model. And being a bystander is an all too easy option in human nature, but it's not a stance ever associated with anything remotely resembling progress. And those of us coming together to form Actuate UK intend to be anything but bystanders. And we hope that you will support and indeed join us on our vital journey. Lem, I just want to thank you and indeed Construction News for supporting our launch today, and I'll hand over to you now to bring our proceedings to a close, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Russell. That's very kind. Well, thank you to all our participants and contributors this morning. It's clear there's a lot of work ahead for Actuate UK. At Construction News, we'll of course be reporting on major developments. But if you'd like to find out more about Actuate UK or simply to voice your support, the contact details that you need are on the screen right now. Do please get in touch with the organisation. All that remains for me is to wish good luck to everyone involved in Actuate UK, and thank you all very much for watching this morning. Thank you and goodbye.